Okay, hello everyone. Welcome back to another swatching my eyeshadows video. Today, as you can probably tell, is yellow. I've been doing this in rainbow order, so I've done pink, red, and orange up until this point, and today I'm going to be doing yellow. How do you distinguish between yellow shimmers and golds? Frankly, I couldn't tell you. It's completely arbitrary. This is like the number one thing that I have been thinking about, is how do you do that when I, started planning for this video, and yeah, I just don't know. I've done it. I've pre-chosen all these shades, and I think I'm just going to go with the golds that lean very yellow, like very yellow golds, and all the other like golds that are more muted or don't have as strong yellowness to them, I'm not going to include. So just quickly, how I typically do this is I just swatch them on both like lengths of my arm, and then I will do up close swatches in between, just so you guys can see them nicely swatched and kind of see them compared to each other, because these swatches are okay, but definitely not my best work. So let's just do it. I think I should be zoomed in enough for this, so let's just go ahead and get started. Maybe I'll just do Juvia's Place first, because that's what's in front of me. So this is the Juvia's Place Afrique palette. There's one yellow in here, which is a matte yellow. I feel like all the matte yellows are going to be basically exactly the same. This is the shade Aya. And yeah, this is just a matte yellow. I think we're going to have, like I said, a lot of shades that look like this, to be honest. We have the Nomad palette next by Juvia's Place. So there are two yellows in here. There's this one right at the top and this one. So this is the first yellow, which almost has like a little bit of orange to it. And then there's this yellow, which has micro glitter in it, but performs like a matte. Then we have the Warrior 3. And there's one matte yellow here right at the top. This is called Nzinga. That's probably not correct, but. Then we have the Festival palette by Juvia's Place. This has one like mustardy yellow called Oro right here. Definitely more mustard, has more orange to it. Then we have the Zulu palette from Juvia's Place, and there's again one yellow here right at the top. This is like my most reached for yellow, I would say, in my collection. Just like a standard yellow. This first one that I swatched is very bright, actually. In comparison, it's a little bit lighter. Next we have the Magic palette by Juvia's Place. This is our first shimmer, and it looks more gold in the palette, but when I actually swatch it, it definitely looks yellow gold to me. It's gonna be just like kind of arbitrary, so I don't know, but whatever. In a similar vein, this is the Beauty Bakerie Do It For The Gram palette, and again, this looks more gold in the palette, but when I actually swatch it, I feel like it looks pretty yellow. I don't know, you guys. I don't know. I would love to know how you would classify like yellow shimmers as opposed to golds. Next we have the Beauty Bay Sunset Horizons palette. So this to me is like my most, I would say, like classic shimmer. This is the shade Mirage. And then we have two mattes here. This is the shade Zest and the shade Moonlit. So we have Mirage. We have the shade Zest, which is a lighter yellow, and Moonlit. But this still looks gold, right? So I don't even know. Oh, and the Juvia's Place metallic shade that I swatched is the shade Nubia, by the way. In case anyone was curious. Here I have the Lime Crime Venus 2 and the shade Mustard, and here is a yellow mustard shade, as the name would suggest. Almost looks more brown in comparison. Then I have two Kaleidos palettes here. This is the Kaleidos Futurism 1 Sci-Fi Green, and there's one mustard shade right here. Should I swatch this? Gold? Sure. I guess it could be more yellow. So this is the mustard shade from the Kaleidos palette, and then this is the shimmer. See, this is almost more gold to me, but then it also is kind of like the same tones as those. I don't really know. And then I have the Kaleidos Flower Punk. And then maybe this is more of a green, but I'm going to include it here. This is the shade Golden Age, this matte. It's more of like a mustard, I would say, with like green undertones, perhaps. Yeah, that's yellow. Okay, so this is my first forearm of all my yellows. There's more variation than I even thought. I didn't realize I had like so many different undertones. Interesting. Now maybe let's go into this Huda Beauty Coral Obsessions palette. There's one kind of like muted yellow right here. Am I in the frame? Yes. Right here. That didn't swatch very well. Let me just build that up. Pretty light. Then I have the Natasha Denona Metropolis. There's one for sure mustard right here. I will look at the name in a second. I think the other shade that I swatched, or no. The other shade in here is more of like, that could potentially be yellow, is a gold. This is the shade Rhizome. Let's see, let's do some melt. So I have the Melt Gemini here. I think there's one true like yellow mustard shade, the shade Lorelei. Definitely more of like a brown, yellow with more brown in it. AKA mustard. And then we have the Melt Amor Eterno Vida. And there's one shade in here, the shade Amor Eterno. Oh my god, let me just hold this up right here. This is a super, super vibrant yellow. Then we have the Colored Raine Juicy Boost. Oh, I have another Colored Raine here somewhere. So I'm going to just do the shade Citrus Zinger and the shade Ginger Bay. And all these other ones are orange. So we have Citrus Zinger, which is basically like a white. It's super light. Probably are not even going to be able to see that. And then Ginger Bay. Excuse me. And I did not do a good swatch of that either. Oh my god. You get the idea. It's a very light yellow. I also have the Colored Raine Safari Raine palette, and the shade Clay is a mustard. Definitely looks more orange in comparison though. All right, let's do some Pat McGrath. So this is the Ecstasy Subversive palette. There's a gold in here that I think is very yellow, which is this little guy right here. This is the shade Gold Standard. That's like pretty bright, I would say. And then this is the Celestial Divinity. Oh, and this is actually the same shade. This gold up here is the same shade, so I'm not going to swatch that because it is the same. So why would I do that? I didn't even realize I had two of those shades. That's okay. Let's do the Pure and Raw Beauty Kristi palette. There is a like mustardy yellow down here called Dandelion. This is a really pretty yellow. And then the neutral side, there is also another mustard, which is actually going to be interesting to directly compare them. This is the shade Camelot. You can't see that, but you get it. You get it. So this is Camelot. So very similar, I think, to have both of these in here. Maybe Camelot is a little bit more like orangey, mustardy toned, while this is Dandelion is more of like a true yellow, but still pretty fucking similar. This is the NYX Ultimate Shadow Palette. This is the Phoenix version. There's two like true yellows in here. There's this guy up here that's brighter, and then there's this mustard down here. And actually, maybe I will swatch this like gold here because it is pretty yellow. So this is the first like brighter yellow. This is the mustard. This palette really doesn't swatch well. And then this is the gold. Then I have this Makeup Forever palette. This is the Nine Artist Shadow palette in the version 3. And there's this really light yellow guy right down here. It's honestly more of a satin, and that swatches horribly as I suspected. This palette is not my favorite. It's just a very light like yellow satin. Not for me necessarily. How much room do I have? Let's see. Let's do ABH Subculture. I'm gonna do the shades Adorn and Edge. So this is Adorn, which looks actually super orange, and Edge, which is a mustard. Pretty deep, actually. Considering Edge looks like a brighter yellow in the palette, that's interesting. And then I have the Modern Renaissance. Let's swatch Golden Ochre just to see what it looks like. It's probably gonna look like just a brown. Yeah, that just looks like a brown, but I thought it looked like kind of yellow in the palette. All right. And that is the second grouping of shadows. Okay, so now moving on. ColourPop Honey. I'm gonna swatch all of these except the pressed glitter, even though maybe this one feels more brown and I wouldn't classify this as yellow, but it's in the yellow palette. So this is the shade Stinger, the shade Sunburst, which is what I'm wearing in my inner corners, the shade Sweet Spot. Actually, I'm wearing mostly this palette as my like yellow shades. So this is Stinger. I'm wearing this as a transition shade, which is very light. The shade, oh my god. So I have a guy on my shirt. This is gonna be a funny story. He's a guy. It's painted onto this shirt. He has a plain, I don't know. My brother got it from Value Village and I took it from him. And in the mirror, this palette is sitting on my desk like this. In the mirror, this man's face is just reflected in the mirror. And I just looked down at the palette and freaked myself out because I just saw this guy's face in my mirror. Anyway, that is embarrassing. So now we have the shade Sunburst. This is actually a super pretty shade. It's a light yellow with a gold, or no, it's a light yellow with a blue shift to it. And then the shade Sweet Spot, which is a little bit of a darker yellow, although it's still pretty light. Okay, so next we have the shade Dandy, skipping over the glitter, the shade Queen Bee, and the shade Totally Buggin'. So we have Dandy. I guess this falls in line with like my yellow gold that I've been doing. Queen Bee. And this is maybe what I would classify as more of like a gold that I wouldn't include. And then Totally Buggin', which has more of an orangey yellow. And then we have the shade Oh Behave, which is what I'm wearing all over my lid, and the shade Buzzkill. And this is probably gonna just look like a brown. So we have Oh Behave and Buzzkill. Yeah. That's basically like a yellow toned brown. So this is the ColourPop Honey palette. It's actually just too bad glitters are so bad for the environment because the shade Palooza, it's a really pretty glitter. Like it has orange flecks in it. It's really beautiful, but those microplastics, man. Then we have Good Sport from ColourPop. There is, I would say, two. So we have the shade Alicious, which is kind of like a yellow gold, and then the shade Trooper, which is a matte yellow. So this is the shade Alicious, which honestly maybe is just a gold. And then we have Trooper. And then we have the Yes Please palette from ColourPop, and there's just this one yellow down here, which is the shade Mischief. I'm not going to count this. This to me is just a gold. So we have the shade Mischief, which is just a matte, kind of like very true, just yellow. So I have this e.l.f. Electric Mood and Tiana Major 9 palette, which is a long story. Anyway, I bought this impulsively, and there's this one yellow shade up here called Yellow Tie. That's just basically a yellow. It's just a yellow. It looks almost more mustardy in the pan, but I think it's just a yellow. Then there's the Makeup Revolution and Roxasaurus palette. The only yellow in here, I would say, is this shade right here called Honey, which looks like it has some orange to it. So that's, yeah, Honey. And then there's this Makeup Revolution Reloaded Iconic Division palette, which is obviously a dupe of Subculture. So I'm going to swatch this guy and this guy. We have this one and this one. All right, and so that is the next batch of yellow-ish eyeshadows. Who knew that yellow would be such a contentious color? Also, by the way, if you have been wanting to wear yellow blush and you've been scared of it, like me, do it, because I'm low-key super into it, and I just like kind of want to wear it every day now. And now let's do, before I get into my singles, my Morphe palettes, which I always forget about when I'm doing these videos for whatever reason. So this is the biggest one. Let's just get it out of the way. We all know what this palette is. I would say there's just one, oh my god, there's one true yellow, which is this guy down here. Yep, just a matte, bright yellow. And then we have the Jaclyn Hill OG palette. And there's this mustardy shade right here, and I think that's all I would count. Which looks pretty orange in comparison, honestly. Okay, before my camera was a fucking bitch and turned itself off, this is the Jaclyn Hill Volume 2 palette. So we have the shade No Joke right here, and I'm going to count the shade Talia as well. So we have No Joke, which is a very bright yellow, and then Talia, which, yeah, is like a brighter yellow metallic. It's like a yellow gold. And then we have the Morphe and Jaclyn Hill Vault Collection. This is the Armed and Gorgeous palette. And there's, how many yellows would I say? I would say the shade Access and the shade Coin. I think I swatched the other ones in my orange. So this is the shade Access. And then Coin. Coin is actually so beautiful. I absolutely love using it. Alright, so these are my Morphe yellows. And let's get into some singles. I might only have 2 yellow singles. Yeah. So this is like probably my favorite yellow ever. This is what I'm wearing all over my eyes. I can't stop talking about it. This is Shine by SD Reserve number 7. It's so fucking pretty. It's the best, seriously, the best yellow. It's just so sparkly. It has a bluey green shift to it. It's stunning, okay? It's stunning. And then I also have the other yellow single that I have is from Terra Moons, and this is the shade Daybreak. I haven't actually used this on my eyes yet, but this is a yellow with a pink shift, or like a red shift. Oops. And a blue shift as well. So pretty. I almost used this today, but I was like, I really want to use this. I want to use the Shine by SD shade. Oh, that's so stunning. Oh my god. Okay, and so this is the last of the yellows. Well, this video didn't take too long to film at all. It's interesting, just like I never realized how much variation in like tones and depth and stuff that I have in my shades. I think it's just so fun to do these videos. I do have a playlist of all of these videos that I've made, so feel free to check those out if you are interested in watching more of these. I also want to mention before I end that this video series was 100% inspired by Beaut Bean. I'll link her channel down below and or up in the cards. Definitely go check her out. Betty Jean is so great, and she did this series and I was obsessed with it and I wanted to do it as well. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know your guys' opinions on yellows. Do you love yellows? Do you hate yellows? Let me know. I am a personal fan. All of these shades I've used so many times, and yeah, I love it. I'll see you next time, guys. Bye.